Okay, here we go. Let's talk a little Dylan Cease. It feels like he's been on the trade block forever now, and with the White Sox not really looking too great going into 2024, it makes a lot of sense to trade Dylan Cease. Now, let's go talk about his numbers first. 33 starts last year, 177 innings. Now, that ERA doesn't look too great, a 4.58 ERA, but the FIP is a lot better at 3.72. The strikeout numbers are still looking really good. They have come down a little bit over the last couple of years, and the walks have steadily gone up, but he's still keeping the ball in the yard. The velocity has gone down a tick, but still averaging 95, 96 miles an hour. Still has some of the best stuff in the game, according to the Stuff Plus leaderboards here on Fangraphs. Getting Dylan Cease at 28 years old with 2 years of control, that's going to be very nice for any team's rotation out there, especially those teams that are, in contention, really going for it this year. So taking a look at Dylan Cease. Now, what could it cost to get Dylan Cease? Well, according to some reports lately, according to Jesse Rogers, is that Chris Getz is not backing off his asking price. Now, if you go back to the beginning of the offseason, Chris Getz said his number one goal for any trades is to multiply players as much as he can. So he's looking to get back as much possible, especially for someone like Dylan Cease, where if you look at, Major League Baseball, starting pitching, it's hard to come by. It's a scarcity. So yeah, he's going to look for a lot. As of right now, you're looking at around 42 million on the median. So that could be anywhere, maybe like 30 to even 50 million, somewhere in that range when it comes to a package of prospects, which you're looking at around, 3 really good prospects or, 4 really good prospects as well. So it's not going to be cheap to get Dylan Cease. We have heard reports about Dylan Cease with the Braves and the Reds this offseason. With the Braves, they were offering either A.J. Smith-Shawver or Bryce Elder, along with Vaughn Grissom and along with another prospect or two. And then when it came to the Reds, the White Sox asked for first-round pick Rhett Lauder from this past year, along with another pitching prospect in Connor Phillips and Edwin Arroyo. So it looks like that didn't get anywhere. So the White Sox are definitely looking for an overpay for Dylan Cease, which I can't blame them because it is starting pitching at the end of the day. But at some point, the White Sox are going to have to come down if they do want to trade Dylan Cease. The value is around 42 million for the median. And if you wait until the trade deadline, that's going to go down to around 25 million. So even if, the market, comes into play, maybe you're getting up to around like, 30, 35, maybe 40 at that point. So you might as well trade the guy now. Teams would rather have him for the full season. So I've put together some trade packages here. Let's go take a look. Speaking of the Atlanta Braves, let's start with them first. Like I mentioned, they were offering a package at one point of A.J. Smith-Shawver or Bryce Elder, along with Vaughn Grissom, as well as a prospect or two. That didn't work out, so they pivoted to the Red Sox and they acquired Chris Sale. But you could still go after Dylan Cease if you wanted to. I mean, my goodness, could you imagine this rotation with Sale and Cease as well? Sure, Sale isn't what he used to be, but hey, if he's healthy and you put him at, in the 4 spot in the rotation, that's a pretty good looking rotation if you ask me. And then you'd have Strider, Fried, Cease, Morton, and Sale. I mean, that's a pretty nice looking rotation if you ask me. That's a pretty full, beefy rotation. So now that Vaughn Grissom is on the Red Sox, the Braves don't have the luxury of offering him, but maybe they could pivot to some kind of a different package where Dylan Cease goes to the Braves. Going to the White Sox, you still have A.J. Smith-Shawver, along with a couple of pitching prospects in Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, as well as Ignacio Alvarez, third base prospects. So looking at the rankings of these guys, Shawver at the moment is number 1, but he's major league ready. So then you would have Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie, the 5 and the 6, and then you would have the number 7 in Ignacio Alvarez. With Alvarez, you're looking at more of a hit tool as of right now, but he did put up some decent numbers last year. Really good on base percentage, 395, great discipline, 284 batting average. Maybe a little more power could come into play at some point down the road. So, for a third baseman, that's, it's not the power you fully want, but hey, a guy that has good plate discipline seems like a guy that can, really help your lineup out down the road. And then you get a couple of pitching prospects in Owen Murphy, J.R. Ritchie. They are far away, but these are guys you can stash in your farm system. And then you'd have AJ Smith-Shawver, a guy with really good stuff, good velocity. This is a guy that can go into your rotation next year if you're the Chicago White Sox. So, yeah, they had talks on the table before. Those didn't go anywhere. Could they maybe reignite those? Maybe. But Dylan Cease on the Braves, could you imagine that rotation? How about my Boston Red Sox? They could really use an upgrade in this rotation. That starting pitching was no bueno last year. Looking at the current rotation, you did add Lucas Giolito this offseason. Bad second half last year, but I expect him to get back on track with Andrew Bailey, the new pitching coach for the Red Sox. I think Giolito's going to have himself a decent year. And then you got Brian Bayo, who's probably going to be opening day for you. So Bayo, Giolito, Pivetta, Crawford, who's underrated in my opinion, Tanner Houck. It's not bad per se, but I feel like you need something else at the top of this rotation. Even if Bayo still is the opening day guy, Dylan Cease as your 2, Giolito as your 3, that's not bad if you ask me. Now, when it comes to what the Red Sox would be willing to give up, I don't see them giving up either Marcelo Meyer, Roman Anthony, or Kyle Teal. On Baseball America, that is the 1, 2, 3. Teal here is the number 4 on Pipeline. So that leaves some other guys that could be on the table, like Ceddanne Rafaela and Nick York, an outfielder, infielder, more with high floors than ceilings, as well as someone like Miguel Blaze, international signing not too long ago, where he's definitely a riskier prospect, but has a very high ceiling, could be a 5-tool superstar at some point down the road, only 19 years old. And then you got maybe some pitching prospects like Wickelman Gonzalez, Luis Perales, maybe some infielders like a Mikey Romero. You got Blaze Jordan here. So the Red Sox, there are some options here without having to give up the top 3. Would the White Sox want either Meyer, Anthony, or Teal? Yeah, likely. I would imagine they would want one of these guys. But let's put together a trade where the Red Sox will not give up any of these guys. So the trade that I have is Dylan Cease to the Red Sox, and leading the package would be Miguel Blaze. Now, he was also injured last year, so you didn't really see a lot out of him last season. But again, the tools are there. The upside is there. That would be a really nice piece for the White Sox to get back. A couple of high floor guys, like I mentioned, in Ceddanne Rafaela, Nick York, and a major league ready guy in Emmanuel Valdez, who could play second base for them right now. He could also play some third down the road if Yohan Moncada ended up going elsewhere. But one thing the White Sox do have, and this is a guy who has not really been able to stay on the field all that much, but the Red Sox could use a right-handed hitter in this lineup. They're really missing that right-handed hitting power bat for the middle of the order. And someone like Eloy Jimenez, that would be a really nice addition for the Red Sox. He is projected for some good numbers next year. So maybe if you throw him in, maybe you could add in another prospect here. When it comes to the total value here, you're looking around $55 million on the median. So, I think value-wise, the Red Sox could get something done. Will the White Sox want a package that doesn't include one of the top 3 prospects? I don't know. But value-wise, I feel like they could get something done if they wanted to. Earlier, I talked about the White Sox approaching the Cincinnati Reds in trade talks, and seems like that didn't go anywhere, but maybe they could reignite those talks. Dylan Cease in this Reds rotation would be really nice to me. I'm really excited to see what the Cincinnati Reds can do this coming season, especially with some of these young guys getting another year under their belt, like Hunter Green. Andrew Abbott was fun last year. Graham Ashcraft is a guy that I think is pretty underrated. Don't forget about Nick Lodolo. He had a leg injury last year. Let's see if he can get it together this year. And then, Frankie Montas, yeah, he hasn't really been healthy the last couple of years, but let's say he's good to go. Man, that could be really good for the Cincinnati Reds. So, Nick Martinez is a guy that's flexible. If you ended up acquiring a starting pitcher, you can just put him in the bullpen. And could you imagine this rotation with Dylan Cease, Hunter Green, Abbott, Ashcraft, and then Montas is your 5? That's a deep rotation right there. And you got some beef in this lineup, some young talent. Oof, this Reds team would be really good. Now, I don't know if the Reds would want to give up Rhett Lauder like we mentioned earlier in those reports. Again, first-round pick, I don't see that. But I still feel like you could put together something here. So the trade that I have put together, Dylan Cease going to the Reds, and then Jonathan India would be the major league-ready piece that could go back to the White Sox. He can go play second base for them right now. He's under control for a couple of years, so I could see that being a pretty decent fit. And then pitching prospect in Connor Phillips, Reese Hins. This is an outfield prospect that that has some upside there. And then Edwin Arroyo. This is a guy that you got back in the Luis Castillo trade not too long ago. He was basically a throw-in in that deal. I think this is going to be a pretty nice package. Again, I don't see the Reds wanting to give up Rhett Lauder, but in this deal, you'd be giving up Edwin Arroyo, Connor Phillips. Connor Phillips, this is a guy who's got some pretty solid stuff, good fastball, and then last year ended up having a pretty decent year in the minor leagues, over 25 games, a 3.86 ERA. Did have 5 starts, but for the White Sox, this could be a future guy in their rotation. So hey, if the Reds, if they really wanted to make this happen, I think they could. Maybe when the White Sox approach them, maybe they're thinking, that's too expensive. Maybe that price could come down a little bit. They could come back together on a deal. I think this would be great. Dylan Cease on the Reds. That'd be pretty fun if you ask me. How about the Philadelphia Phillies? They were 1 win away from back-to-back World Series this past postseason. If they could acquire someone like Dylan Cease to be the number 3 in this rotation, that would be such a good 1, 2, 3 with Zach Wheeler, with Aaron Nola, with Dylan Cease. Another thing about Dylan Cease, too, he's under control for 2 years. So if Zach Wheeler were to walk away in free agency next offseason, you would still have Dylan Cease in the fold for next year. You brought back Aaron Nola, but you haven't really made any additions to this pitching staff. I came up with an idea. Phillies fans, you're probably going to hate this, but hear me out. I have an idea for you. So here's the trade. I got Dylan Cease to the Phillies. Now, it would definitely cost you some beef. Mick Abel, this is a good pitching prospect, a lot of upside. He hasn't fully found his way in the minors yet, but maybe this could be a piece that you would send back to the White Sox. I'm sure the White Sox would love to get a piece like Mick Abel. And then I've also included Johan Rojas here. Dave Dombrowski, it seems like he just hasn't fully committed to Johan Rojas. He's keeping an open mind with the Phillies outfield. Now, where with the Phillies, if you did trade Johan Rojas in this deal, again, another major league ready piece, like I've had in other trades where this guy can go play right now for the White Sox. I'm not sure where you would put him, maybe right field, or maybe you move Luis Robert over to right field and then Rojas can play center. But one thing to think about with the Phillies is that you got Crawford down in the minor leagues. He could be ready in the next couple of years. So if you lose Rojas, I wouldn't say it's completely the end of the world. And then maybe they could go out into free agency, maybe get a good defensive outfielder, someone like Michael Taylor, who would be pretty cheap. So I could see maybe that working out. And then a couple of pitching prospects here in Alex McFarland and Tommy McCollum. You know what? If the Phillies, if they wanted to get bold, I could see them doing it. You can never count out Dave Dombrowski. How about the defending champion Texas Rangers? They got injury concerns in this rotation right now. Max Scherzer, he's got a bad back. Nathan Eovaldi, John Gray, Andrew Heaney, they've missed starts over the last couple of years. I think it would go a long way to get a workhorse guy like Dylan Cease, who you would also have for next season as well. And the Rangers, they definitely have some prospects here. And the trade that I put together here, I think really matches up with what the White Sox could be looking for. You're getting guys that are major league ready, and you're getting some prospects as well. And one interesting name in other trade videos I've brought up as well with the Rangers is Jack Leiter. This is a guy that teams have asked about in the past. And hey, you know what, for the Rangers, if they feel like maybe Jack Leiter is just a lost cause at this point, or it's just not going to work out, they could use Leiter as an asset to acquire a guy like Dylan Cease, who has good stuff, gives you innings, and is under control for the next couple of years while the Rangers still try to compete for more World Series championships. So in this trade, Justin Foscue would lead the way in terms of value. That's a guy that can go right over to the White Sox, very close to major league ready. Good, solid player. He can play other positions as well. A guy that is just a good high IQ player that I think would be a really nice fit for the White Sox, along with Jack Leiter. If he can get himself back on track, maybe the White Sox can do something differently with him. I think that could be a pretty good fit. Another major league ready player in Ezekiel Duran. He can play multiple positions, still very young. And then an outfield prospect in Aaron Zavala. So if we take a look at the rankings, Jack Leiter, as of right now, is number 5, while Aaron Zavala is number 11. A couple of major league ready pieces. I think the Rangers make a lot of sense if they were to go after Dylan Cease. And the team that makes the most sense for Dylan Cease are the Baltimore Orioles. They really make the most sense when it comes to acquiring really any starting pitcher out there. Their farm system is absolutely loaded. They got so much young talent on the Major League roster. Young talent that is blocking other good young talent down on the farm that could end up using a new home. And this is why it's so important to really build up your farm system, because even if you have players on the Major League roster, you could still have really good players down in the minors that could be used as assets for trade. So the Orioles are set up so nicely here. And really, I mean, take your pick. I came up with a package that I think is pretty reasonable, a little on the lower end, to be honest with you. The Orioles, if they really wanted to blow away the White Sox in a trade, they could definitely do it. So Dylan Cease going to the Orioles. Leading the package would be Jordan Westburg, Major League ready, plays second base. That'd be a perfect fit for the White Sox. You got Jude Fabian, a guy with some pop, outfield prospect, and an underrated prospect in Juan Nunez. If we go take a look at Juan Nunez, this is a guy that Baseball America has written about, saying to keep your eye on as an underrated guy. Decent numbers last year, a 3.96 ERA, a little on the smaller side, 5'11", 190 pounds, but he's got good stuff, good velocity, slider as well. This is a guy that could really develop and really take the next step this coming year. So keep an eye out for him. So maybe an underrated piece like this. When it comes to the Orioles, the pitchers in their system, they don't have a lot of highly touted guys, but they got a lot of position players. So if they could offer a pitcher, I think Juan Nunez could be a guy that, definitely could be more value down the road. And then another outfield prospect who they just got recently in the last couple of years in Dylan Beavers. So taking a look at where these guys rank. So when it comes to Dylan Beavers, he is the number 9. When it comes to Jude Fabian, he is number 13. And then Juan Nunez, as of right now, is the number 28. But, of course, they're getting a Major League ready piece in Jordan Westburg. So let me know what you think down below in the comments. What do you think of these trades? Tell me how you would fix any of them. Of course, these trades are not always set in stone. You can always switch guys out. But if you do switch some guys out, let me know in the comments why you think your trade makes sense. Give me some other trade proposals. Give me some other teams. Hey, there are plenty of teams that could use Dylan Cease. But that's all I have for right now, everyone. Thanks for watching. If you can on the way out, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and I'll talk to you next time.